If you have ever been curious about the origins and characteristics of the three orders of ancient Greek architecture, you are in the right place. This video will provide you with the answers you seek. So, let's go find out what we have here. We will cover two major points in this video, the history and characteristics of ancient Greek architecture. After that, we will provide you with some quizzes to review what you have learned. The use of columns in ancient Greek architecture has a long and rich history dating back to the 7th century before the Common Era. So, let's take a look at the history of column architecture in ancient Greek together. Early columns. The earliest columns in Greece were made of wood and were used to support the roof of building. These early wooden columns were often painted with bright colors and decorated with intricate carving. Stone columns. In the 7th century before the Common Era, Greek architects began to use stones to create more permanent and durable columns. The first stone columns were of the Doric order, which had a simple, sturdy design and was often used in temples and public buildings. The Ionic order of columns was introduced in the 6th century before the Common Era and was characterized by its more slender form, its capital with volutes on either side, and its base. The Corinthian order. The Corinthian order was introduced in the late 5th century before the Common Era and was characterized by its ornate capital, which was decorated with acanthus leaf. This order was rarely used in Greece but became popular in Hellenistic period and was widely used by the Romans. Golden Age. The Golden Age of Greek architecture occurred in the 5th century before the Common Era, when some of the most famous buildings in Greece were constructed, such as the Parthenon and the Temple of Olympian Zeus in Athens. These buildings were often decorated with intricate carving and sculptures. Hellenistic period. During the Hellenistic period from 323 before Christ until 31 before the Common Era, Greek architecture became more decorative and ornate, with the use of more complex and elaborate column designs. Roman period. In the Roman period from 31 before the Common Era until 476 Common Era, Greek architecture continued to influence Roman architecture with the use of Greek columns and decorative features in many Roman buildings. As can be seen, the history of column architecture in ancient Greek is a testament to the creativity and skill of Greek architects, and their enduring legacy can still be seen in buildings around the world today.
The Doric order is the earliest of the three classical orders of architecture, which emerged on the Greek mainland during the course of the late 7th century before Common Era. Doric columns were stouter than those of the Ionic or Corinthian orders. Their smooth, round capitals are simple compared to the other two Greek orders. Doric-style columns were typically placed close together, often without bases, with concave curves sculpted into the shafts. Doric column capitals were plain with a rounded section at the bottom, called the echinus, and a square at the top called the abacus. The echinus appears flat and splayed in early examples and rises from the top of the column like a circular cushion to the abacus, which supports the lintels. The examples of Doric order is seen within the Temple of Parthenon in Athens. The Ionic order originated in Ionia, a coastal region of what is now called Turkey. It is characterized mainly by scroll-like ornaments that appear on Ionic column capitals known as volutes, as well as the column base supports. Developed during a similar period as the Doric order in the mid-6th centuries before Common Era, Ionic columns made their way to mainland Greece the following century, with many of the country's landmarks built in the Ionic style. The examples of architecture with Ionic order is Erechtheion, Athens. The Corinthian order is both the latest and the most elaborate of the classical orders of architecture, and the Corinthian does not have its origin in wooden architecture, having grown directly out of the Ionic order 5th century before Common Era. Taking its name from the city of Corinth, the Corinthian order can be distinguished from the Ionic order by its more ornate capitals carved with stylized acanthus leaves. On the Corinthian entablature, the frieze was usually decorated with continual sculptural reliefs, where the figures were raised from the surface but not completely freestanding. The examples of Corinthian orders is the Temple of Olympian Zeus Athens.
Let's hop in quiz part, which is part 3. First question. What is the difference between a Doric and Ionic column? The main difference between Doric and Ionic columns are in their proportion and decorative detail. Doric columns are simpler, while Ionic columns are more ornate. Next question. What column is likely to be in civic buildings? The answer is Ionic. Civic buildings are often grand and important, and their design are more likely to be elegant and fancy, which Ionic could fit. Also, Ionic columns represent democracy, which is a system of government that values equality and fair treatment for all people. So, Ionic columns became popular again during 18th century until now. Last question. What is the most luxury column? The answer is the Corinthian column. Because it is ornate and intricate capital design, which decorate with agatha leaf and skull. It was often used in special buildings where a sense of grandeur and opulence was desired, and also Corinthian column seen as a symbol of wealth and power.